Hello, good evening to you and a warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. This evening, we can confirm to you that the Ghana Revenue Authority has received the Gazette notice from the Ghana Publishing Company to aid the enforcement of the electronic transfer levy by midnight. And that's what we've picked up from persons and working on the repealing of the levy. There is more in this report.
We are now learning that despite President John Mahama signing the E-Levy, it still cannot be described as legal unless it is gazetted by the Ghana Publishing Company. Our checks a while ago showed that the Ghana Revenue Authority needs that Act number from the Publishing Company, which is very important when it comes to they communicating to the various charging entities that the electronic transfer levy is now illegal. We understand that if the Ghana Revenue Authority is not able to finalize the process this evening, then we could be looking at Friday morning. This is because the Ghana Revenue Authority may want to have the beginning of a full day to kick off the tax. The Ghana Revenue Authority is not only working on the E-Levy, but other tax items that were signed today. One can talk about the betting tax, emission levy, and the value-added tax amendment bill.
But the Telecoms Chamber is insisting that it needs at least 24 hours to fully comply. Ken Ashigbe is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications.
There will be some time that would be required between when the Gazette is being received and notification given so that the charging entities and GRA itself would be able to move all the calibrations they've done from the test environment to the production environment. And normally for such a system based on all, maybe within 24 hours, that ought to be done. So I'm pretty sure that once the Gazette is received by GRA, we will then allow the time for the calibration of the system, which I'm pretty sure would be about 24 hours. And so let's say we get this tonight, maybe Thursday midnight into Friday morning, those calibrations will be completed, because it's important that you do this thing so that there are no hitches when you go live.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of MTN Ghana, Stephen Blewett, has stated that the abolishment of the E-Levy cannot happen overnight. He's been speaking to Joy Business.
I think it shows a commitment from the government to meet their manifesto promises. So I think that's great. I think what the E-Levy does, which is really important for everyone to understand, as I said in the session now, E-Levy will create more momentum to drive financial inclusion. That's what it does. So we're working within the timing and the parameters set down by the government, and we'll implement based on those criteria and guidelines. We'll meet them. Okay, we have always met things like that, but it's a really positive move because it speaks to how do we drive this digital and financial inclusion.
We know that process is going to be quite elaborate before the full implementation takes off and all of that. But in all of this, what should we expect from MTN?
Well, what we do is set rules and stages that have to happen. So MTN will work within those stages. I mean, I can tell you one thing. From our side, we are fully committed to meeting the government's guidelines and dates. We will meet those and we will do what's required.
Like I did say earlier, we understand the Ghana Revenue Authority has formally received the Gazette from the GPC, and of course, which of course gives them the mandate to go ahead and do the necessary recalculation, etc. My colleague George Yafe has been following up on that and joins me in studio to bring us the very latest in relation to that. So George, what's the latest we are learning?
So the latest is that the Ghana Revenue Authority has gotten that Gazette notice from the Ghana Publishing Company. That means that as we speak right now, the E-Levy is an illegal action.
All right.
No one can go ahead to charge the E-Levy because of the Gazette notice, meaning that the thing has been truly repealed. Now, we also understand that all the chief executives of the various financial institutions, the telcos and all the rest, the Ghana Revenue Authority has sent that electronic letter to them asking them that as we speak right now, E-Levy doesn't exist. It's illegal. If you should go ahead in charging this tax, you should kick in that process to start refunding the money to you from tomorrow. Because we had some people argue that it might be difficult to, calibrate the system, but per all the legal requirements, regulations, and laws, as of now, it's illegal to charge the E-Levy for any consumer. And they've actually communicated to them that it is no longer a tax on their books. if you should go ahead to charge, you should kickstart that process of refunding the monies to the people. So you might see that some of the telcos, you have something they call a zero tax.
Yeah.
And that means that there's a separate account where these refunds should go in, and then they'll kickstart that process to refund to you.
All right, so which means that the projection by Ken Ashigbe that within the next 24 hours, the recalculation should, need to...
Yeah, Ken may have a case with respect to some of the mobile operators because for them, the argument was that they need a legal notice to apply the tax. And that is why they don't work with hearsay because it has to do with something that legal. So now that the Gazette has been secured, they are supposed to kickstart the process of working on their systems. It might take a while, but then the directive from GRA is that if you take a while, make sure that every deduction that is made today, you start refunding it to any consumer out there.
All right, George, thank you so much for breaking it all down for us and keep monitoring that space for us and bring us up to speed as and when development unfolds. But let's stay a while longer within the telecom space because Stephen Blewett, who is the Chief Executive Officer of MTN Ghana, has been speaking about his first year in office as the Chief Executive of the telecom firm.
In a year already, Stephen Blewett assumed office as MTN Ghana's CEO. In a fireside chat with some media personalities, he shared his initial reaction when he was informed about his transfer to Ghana.
If you want to know my first reaction, your first reaction is fear. Because you're taking over a very successful business. I've always had this thing, and I think a few leaders around this room will have it. You know, you've heard of this imposter syndrome. I've been a CEO for so long. You know, my poor wife, every time I start a job, she has to spend half her time trying to convince me that actually you can do the job, don't worry. But my feeling coming here, which was somewhat different from other roles I've had in MTN, is this is not a business that needs to be fixed. This is not, there's nothing to really fix.
He shared some insights on how he plans to move MTN to the next level.
Yeah, we've had engagements with NGRC and we've discussed with them. From our perspective, however 5G plays out, MTN will participate in some way. So whether that's NGRC or hybrid or multiple players, whatever, we will... and we're happy to be part of rolling that out. We're happy to be partners. There's a lot of different ways. So we will wait for guidance from our ministry on that.
He also expressed his commitment to collaborate with government agencies to drive growth, especially in the area of 5G.
So customer experience sits at the beginning. Then you have to have a robust network. I know when I go around the room, someone will say, I've had a problem on my network here, a problem. Our network is improving. I know you're not going to like me saying that, but it is improving, okay? However, I can confidently say that in the rest of this year, you should see some marked improvements in our network.
Among other things, Stephen Blewett promised to ensure efficient customer service and improve MTN service delivery. From Accra, Isaac Osei.
And to some other stories, food inflation has declined for the fourth consecutive time, driving the overall inflation for the month of March to 22.4%, down from 23.1% in February 2025. Here's a report.
It is the third consecutive time that inflation has declined for the year 2025. Overall inflation rate for March was 26.5%, down from 28.1% in February 2025. Also, non-food inflation rate also continued to decline, but marginally this time from 18.8% in February to 18.7%. This government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim.
Highlights for March 2025 rate of inflation. In the month of March 2025, year-on-year inflation stood at 22.4%, which simply means that general price levels of goods and services between March 2024 and March 2025 went up by 22.4%. This indicates a slowdown in rate of inflation as year-on-year inflation for the month of February 2025 stood at 23.1%, slowing down by 0.7 percentage points to 22.4% for March 2025. Disaggregating this from a food and non-food perspective, we recorded a 7.8 percentage point difference between food inflation, which stood at 26.5%, and non-food inflation, which stood at 18.7%.
In the month of March 2025, we have recorded a much sharper decline in food inflation, which declined by 1.6 percentage points, and a marginal decline in non-food inflation, which declined by 0.1 percentage point between February 2025 and March 2025.
Inflation for locally produced items reduced to 24% from 25%. Meanwhile, inflation rate for imported items increased to 18.7% in March from 18.5% in February 2025.
So for purposes of our reflection, food inflation on a year-on-year basis was 26.5%, and on a month-on-month basis recorded a deflation of 0.2%. What we always need to keep in mind is the subclasses that we share with you. That is why we had a slide that walks you through the subclasses within the food domain. What we see in there is that of the subclasses, vegetables, tubers, and plantains contributes to the food inflation that we've recorded in the last 13 months. What actually contributed to the slowdown from 28.1% to 26.5% was the reduction in vegetables, tubers, and plantains. In February, year-on-year, it stood at 45.0%, giving its weight of 9.5, and it's declining to 40.3% for the month of March 2025. Vegetables, tubers, and plantains contributed to the 1.6 percentage point drop from 28.1% to 26.5% for food inflation between February and March 2025.
The Upper West region recorded the highest inflation rate of 36.2%. The Volta region, however, recorded the lowest regional inflation rate of 18.9%. James Echen's report for Joy Business.
Parliament's Committee on Economy and Development has announced that it will soon start a public hearing by inviting ministers to appear before it to present their annual performance reports. This move, according to the ranking of the committee, Kojo Ponkrumah, is aimed at promoting transparency and accountability. Mr. Ponkrumah tells me as soon as Parliament resumes from the break in July, the committee will start scrutinizing the ministers' performance reports to ensure that they are aligning with the government's economic development goals.
For example, on the Economic Committee side, we will soon start our public hearings, inviting the ministers to come and present what we call their annual performance reports. In those annual performance reports, we will spot any overruns that occurred in the previous years. We will also see your program of activity and your KPIs for this year and how you are spending this year. And if there are any overruns that are showing up, we'll be able to catch them in time and draw your attention to so that we avoid those overruns. The public hearings are very helpful in this area.
And when do you intend doing that?
The moment Parliament comes back, we are expecting that the 2024 APRs will be presented by the NDPC at the end of June. I expect that from July, we will start our public hearings at the Economic Committee, but we'll be focusing on the economic ministries, the economic sector ministries, to check their performance for previous year, program, KPIs, and expenditure for this year.
Chairman of the African Economic Zones Chamber, Dr. Richmond Kwame Frimpong, has called for the swift passage of the Special Economic Zones policy to boost industrial growth and attract investment. Speaking at the Africa Industrial Trade Show 2025 in Accra, he stated that a well-structured policy would enhance local manufacturing and strengthen Africa's position in global trade. More in this report.
The African Industrial Trade Show is a premier industrial and pan-African trade promotion platform designed to showcase and promote Africa's leading industrial parks to investors and entrepreneurs. Speaking at the event, Head of Chamber Secretariat, Tekla Ricketts, emphasized on the need to strengthen local manufacturing.
Africa strives for sustainable industrial growth and economic transformation. AITS 2025 serves as a crucial platform to drive innovation, investment, and strategic partnerships. As global markets become more competitive, it is imperative that we strengthen local manufacturing, enhance value addition, and position Africa as a key player in industrial trade.
Special Economic Zone expert at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Agribusiness, Dr. John Asedu, outlined the government's plans to support businesses.
Government intends to establish special economic zones across all the regions, 16 regions of Ghana. And in so doing, we all know the difficulties investors go through in the accessing litigation-free lands. So the idea of government is to acquire land banks in the country, which would then be given to investors who want to operate within these economic zones.
Chairman of the African Economic Zones Chamber, Dr. Richmond Kwame Frimpong, called for the passage of the Special Economic Zones policy.
We are calling on the government to fast-track the passing of the Special Economic Zones policy, which I believe at the moment is somewhere around cabinet, so it can come to parliament, it becomes an act, and it gives greater leverage over the Free Zones Act and make anybody, the MSMEs, the emerging manufacturing companies, and specific anchors like pharmaceutical manufacturing, like garment and textile, which throw up millions of jobs to quickly plug in and start working.
The African Industrial Trade Show 2025 was organized by the Economic Zones Chamber in partnership with GIZ, UNIDO, UNDP, and the AFTA Secretariat in Accra.
And to some other business stories, Executive Chairman of IDEC Digital, Ambrose Yena, is calling on government to leverage the business process outsourcing industry to attract more foreign direct investment into the country. According to him, Ghana positions itself as a critical destination for the services provided by businesses in the industry and has the opportunity to provide more jobs for the youth. He was speaking at the launch of the IDEC Digital BPO Center.
IDEC Digital has launched the IDEC Business Process Outsourcing Center aimed at contributing to digital transformation, job creation, and economic growth in Ghana. The center will provide data entry processing and data analytics, digital marketing, and content management support to businesses. Speaking at the launch, Executive Chairman of IDEC Digital, Ambrose Yena, urged government to leverage the industry to bring in more foreign direct investment.
Here we are in the middle of Broad Street in East Legon. We virtually can work 24 hours. We have light all through. We have other backup facilities, and there's safety and security. So we can run 24 hours easily as, and growing. So it's something that we think is a contribution that we can make to reducing unemployment in Ghana and fitting very well into the government's program, all geared towards our country's development. Economic development, as I showed in the numbers that are available, the amount of money that Ghana can earn in terms of inflows through these jobs is quite significant. And we can use these inflows to balance our economy because the foreign currency inflows from these jobs that are created by people working here remotely and earning dollars, and all this money is coming in through the banking sector, through the system, and the economy and the country becomes all the better.
Chief Executive of the Business Outsourcing Services Association, David Gowu, said the industry will help create more jobs for the youth with the needed support.
The BPO space is a very important space for job creation for our young people. All over the world, particularly developing countries like India, Philippines, Mexico, and other parts of the world, they have used this business process outsourcing as the entry level of ensuring that young people find decent jobs. When I mean decent jobs, I mean jobs that pay them way above the minimum wage, but also jobs that are sustainable because they are able to work for company full-time, they are able to get their social security and other benefits that any other person who works in a full-time employment gets. And that is what the BPO sector is about.
IDEC Digital has been at the forefront of digital innovation, including IT training and enhanced service delivery since 2020.
The Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport Ghana, as part of measures towards keeping up with the constant evolution of logistics chains and growing complexity of goods flows, has organized a two-day workshop for all logistics and warehouse professionals and practitioners to expose them to latest advancements, best practices, and technology in the sector.
With the role of warehouse professionals becoming crucial to ensuring the competitiveness and efficiency of nations and companies, the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport organized its Warehouse Operations Management and Safety Workshop to empower its practitioners with the latest tools and insights needed to transform warehouse operations and contribute to more efficient and sustainable logistics supply chain management. Speaking at the event, President of SILT Ghana, Engineer Makamuama, highlighted the gaps in warehouse operations in Ghana and the need to ensure efficiency in the sector.
When it even comes to safety element of it, look at, if you really visit a typical, in fact, manual warehouse operations, and you see the way they actually pack the stocks, you get to realize that in every step that they do, they apply what they call the lean operations management. Lean operations trying to keep you with a limited amount of stocks. You try to position things in the right places and ensure that you don't hit onto any metal, sharp edges and all that. These are the safety elements we want them to really, the kind of gases, the kind of material that you actually put into your warehouse. Is it something that is within the human environment? That because you're going to stay in, you may have a whole office in there. We want to make sure that we don't get the people who call themselves or who may have practiced warehouse. At the end of the day, they live with all kinds of problems.
Some of the critical areas the workshop focused on included inventory and stock control, warehouse robotics, and optimization of warehouse efficiency.
This is still Prime Business. The 6th Paramount Chief of Asin Orinchi, Pra Agensiam, has urged the engineering community to collaborate with all sector players to ensure that Ghana's cities evolve into smart urban centers amidst rapid urbanization. He made this call at the closing banquet of the 55th Annual General Meeting and Conference of the Ghana Institution of Engineering.
Pra Agensiam, the 6th Paramount Chief of Asin Orinchi, at the closing banquet for the 55th Annual General Meeting and Conference of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, urged the engineering community to work with all sector players to ensure cities become smart in the face of urbanization.
It's that which is called land. And our lands are being destroyed totally. Just so that few greedy individuals will be rich as against the very majority, significant, almost 99.9% of Ghanaians, that we can go to hell. Well, listen to this. We will not go to hell. We will fight this menace. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the name of unity and progress, let us to continue to work together, leveraging engineering as a tool for national development and transformation. My prayer, and I don't pray very often, but this evening my prayer is that the connections and lessons learned here will blossom into lasting partnership that will drive Ghana's growth.
President of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Anan Hesse, pledged to continue to work to continue the mandate of the institution.
Hopefully, this will be the last time that the Engineering Excellence Awards will be combined with the dinner. It is our vision to raise the stature of the awards as a standalone program in a manner that will attract the required public interest and elevate innovation and excellence in the practice of engineering to a new level. I don't intend to bore you with a long address. I did that yesterday. Suffice it to say that you are all invited to join the bandwagon to lift the GHIE onto a high pedestal.
The 55th Annual General Meeting and Conference of the Ghana Institution of Engineering was under the theme Urbanization and Smart Cities, Engineering the Future of Ghana Cities.
Thank you so much for watching Prime Business. I am Pius Kojo Bakar. Razak Musbao is next with Prime Sports.